This is a review for margorp9000, who is black. So he himself said his opening usually goes right, and I agree. Opening goes perfectly fine for black, nothing to criticize. And now the first interesting thing happens, because white mixes up the variation here, and now black gets this move in, and the result that we see in the end is actually pretty good for black. When I first looked at this, I was a little bit confused because this had never happened to me, but we can actually do some Tevari here to see why this is good for black. Because you can imagine white goes in the corner and double Hane, and white plays here, black plays here, and when white plays here, black decides to play it here, right? So that would be not a good move. And when white gets this Atari, black still plays somewhere else, and now white can actually capture. So yeah, this is really a fantastic result for black, because white plays here and it doesn't exactly threaten the corner, just threatens to make some shape here. But this capture is so big, because if white plays something, then you can pull out here, and now white can't defend this anymore. So this capture is really, really big. And instead you respond with the Hane here. And generally, when you're being invaded and you want to attack the stone, I mean, you have to respond to the attachment, but the rule of thumb here is if you're stronger than white, then you should just extend. Because now, if you play like this, then you leave this weakness behind here, right? And white got the double Hane, and it was actually pretty alright for white. But if you just pull up, then you disconnect white, and white doesn't get stronger from your move. So, but you attached, played Hane, and it actually ended up like this, and this is really good for white, because if you look at this, black already had all these stones here. So this was already what we expected black to get. So all you got was, that's really helpful, is this, and you know, access to the outside. But if we compare this to white, who is out and with one more move can almost live here. So black really didn't get anything out of this, while white can be very happy. And this move is also it's a mistake, because this capture is so big. You really need to know this double Hane variation, and be aware of the fact that you have some Aji here, because right, there are forcing moves. So instead, black's result is very bad, unfortunately. You have a Tetris shape here. This is an empty triangle you're just making. And white fixed this problem. But, well, it went like this, and the game isn't lost. But this move really doesn't... you can do more, because this is just asking white, can I please take these 4 points here, and you know, this is weakening your stone, so yeah, play it again. And white dropped down, which was a big mistake, but if white just jumps out now, connecting under here is not all that great. So instead you should really take the fight to white, because white isn't threatening anything here. This won't hurt you. And you have follow-ups against stones on top, so you can really play out two groups against each other. Anything, or you can even think on a larger scale, because the bottom is wide open, and if black can play here, and remember you have this RG here, there's a lot of things you can try to do on the bottom side. But this happens. And now white dropped down, which was really big mistake. You actually get to lean on the top and start your attack on white, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, you kind of got yourself into the situation, so you have to defend the stone. And this Tesuji, for making shape, you really need to know that, and just not help white. Same thing here. You don't want to just Atari, you can pull back, and white obviously can't play here. So a lot of the things that are happening in this game can be explained with sloppiness. I mean, okay, so now this group is actually alive. And here comes the sloppiness, because you played here, but there was this RT for white to exploit, which happened in the game. Yeah, so if you just make your shape strong, white still needs to help this group, and you are now in a much better position to threaten this group here, and pull something off on the bottom side of the board. So yeah, pay attention to your weaknesses, because at this point you need to see that white has forcing moves. And white didn't have to capture here. It was already captured. White could just fix something. And this also is a sloppy mistake, because what was white going to accomplish in this area? White should just kill you. But okay, you lived, and white cuts, and now again you don't need to save this group. You can do something on the large open area of this board. Certainly play this move. If you play here, then white can kill. You can take this as your homework assignment. You didn't have to play there, and and this invasion isn't, this area is very small, right? You can just count how many are here, and you can count how many are there, and that's a very easy decision where to go. Here white didn't have to play like this. Could actually try to contain it. The best thing I could find for black was getting a coal like this. But yeah, I think black will be quite alright with this. So you could just take something large elsewhere on the board and sacrifice this. It would be okay for black, I think. But whatever, white gave you this shape and you connect it up, so you have a wall in the center of the board now. That's good. And here you have to think about, because your next move is just preventing the connection, but there are less and less possible moves on the board. So you need to think about where your points are coming from. So if you just play like this and encourage white to connect, then you can easily make, you know, a decent chunk of points. Or you can think about this, but maybe white will fight back, so could get more interesting. Or, you know, this move is big. White, when you play this move, actually play this and you try to immediately capture, to do the double Atari, but you can pull out, and white still needs to fix this problem because that's a connect and die. And yeah, so if white, for example, connects now, you can turn and really enclose white because the shape is so bad. Because, for example, honey, yeah, and white, I don't think shouldn't try to fix the shape like this, because if you just pull out, then there's still all of this stuff, and you know, with these simple forcing moves, you can get something on the bottom, and you are fine in the center. Or if white tries to fight back against this, then you can actually capture these 4 stones and yeah, really abuse this bad shape of white. But in any case, the game went like this, and yeah, you went immediately for the double Atari when you could just extend once, and white still has this huge problem. This is fine. But well, I don't know, it looks weird. Maybe this wasn't the best thing to do. I mean, we know that you could have gotten a better result towards the bottom side. And yeah, black's options are getting more and more limited. The last thing really that happens here is this. When you have a stone that you know, because your next move was playing here, you wanted to sacrifice the stone. So there's a proverb, when you sacrifice a stone on the 3rd line, you want to add another stone to it. That's not the exact proverb, but general gist. Because if you just drop down, then white, there's a lot more things going on. For example, if white connects now, then you can push here, and white actually has to back off because this doesn't work. Or white drops down, then you can actually really fight back here. There's a couple of variations here. For example, you could get out like this, or you know, just get some nice reduction in and still save these stones on the bottom, because white was really in no position to fight back like that. Yeah, so the most important what you need to keep in mind really is your opening is pretty okay. I think you can work with that. What you really need to pay attention to is using your time properly and not making these sloppy mistakes that cost you a lot in this game. Like this move was sloppy because you could just drop down first. You need to use your time better. Same thing with this. Don't go for the small stuff, go for the big stuff. Attacking two things at once. And here some life and death practice is required. So that's all for this game.